Okay, so according to YouTube, I'm live. Not really sure what's going to happen, if the stream's going to show up or not, because most of my videos, and we're going to talk about that on my list of topics for discussion, are immediately going to the yellow alert, not monetized, or limited monetization. So I'm not exactly sure what happens with that, but we'll go over that. So, oh, Tiger, how you doing? Well, I got one viewer, so I know that you guys can see me. So I decided to do a live stream. I really don't do too much of them because at some point my voice will give out, and then you have to put up listening to me coughing and hacking and clearing my throat incessantly. But figured, why not? I don't want to have to go through all the editing, to be honest. It's just a pain in the butt. I like editing, and I made some changes, which I'm going to talk about in our little list of topics here. But it's still a pain, you know, because getting the studio set up in itself takes like an hour. Getting the lighting right, getting the camera set up, testing the microphone, making sure everything's responding correctly, doing test recordings to make sure it's actually recording correctly. Even though I've got all my equipment set up, I have to do all that first. Then when I do that, then I start shooting the video. Depending on what I'm going to do, it might be here in the studio, it might be something I have to do remote, you know, testing products or whatever. Shooting Linux, it just depends. So I go through all that, and by the time I'm all done shooting, it's like 3 or 4 hours later, and then I start doing the editing. By that time I'm running around cooking dinner and doing other things, and there have been some improvements which I'm going to talk about. Anyway, I really should call this one not just the Dell, but studio improvements and the Dell Inspiron 5675 Ryzen. So that is what we're streaming on right now. General Kenobi, I love it. Got this computer for $1,049 from Best Buy. It's got an AMD Ryzen 7 1700, 16 gig memory. I've already replaced the 1 terabyte hard drive. If you watched my video, I put in 2 SSDs, one exclusive to Linux and the other one exclusive to Windows. And then I put a 4 terabyte drive in, and I formatted it as NTFS, and it's been working really well. Although I've got a read-only issue with the drive right now when I'm in Linux, so I have to figure that out. I'll probably have to unmount it and then mount it manually. Not a big deal. I've had to do that before. But 4 terabyte drives are kind of terra incognita right now for Linux in general, if they are NTFS, because there's not a whole lot of testing out there. So it works, but I feel like it's experimental at this point. 4 terabyte partitions really weren't something that was top on the list of Linux developers, which I understand. Anyway, this system, I'm in love with it. It's phenomenal. I don't know if you've been watching the videos as of late, but when I do a render, so previously this would be the best system I had, which was my Yoga 910, which I've got right here. And my 910's an i7 dual core. 16 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4, I believe it is. It's got a 512 gigabyte SSD that's very, very fast. I had the video that I hosted on YouTube yesterday, and it was a mix of 4K. So I was recording with my camera, and I realized from the previous video I was still recording in 4K. So I had to switch it to 1080p because I thought, you know, I really don't need to do this one in 4K. It's not like I'm showcasing any hardware or anything like that, like the iPhone or a new computer or anything. So I had a mixed video that I had to edit down with Kdenlive, and when I did a test render, I was just curious on the Yoga 910. So this render is for that 16-minute video, part in 4K, part in 1080p. My Yoga 910 took 1 hour, 17 minutes, 50 seconds to render that baby. See, I was thinking that the Ryzen was slower than I expected. Now, the other thing I want to add to this is that I am rendering in H.265, which, as you know, is very hardware demanding because it's compressing tighter the video so that when I upload it, switch to Linux, good to see ya. When I upload the video, of course, it doesn't take as much time, right? Because the video is much, much smaller. Well, this is the same video rendered with the Ryzen 7 1700, 28 minutes, 55 seconds. I got to tell you right now, I was so happy. I just can't tell you how happy I was. I basically did an H.265 render with a mix of 4K and 1080p video. So I had to downsize the 4K to 1080p during the render process. Took 28 minutes, twice as long as the actual video, and it was an H.265. That is outstanding. So this system has exceeded my expectations for $1,000. I really wanted to put one together, but I was thinking, you know, I just don't have the time right now. I just need to get a system up and running. The Phenom 2 X6 1055T processor on my old system just wasn't getting it. So, and it, you know, kudos to my viewers. You guys were telling me you really need to get a desktop. Get a desktop system. It'll be light years faster than your laptop. And I'm thinking, but my laptop's an i7. How bad could it really be? Apparently pretty bad as far as render times go. So huge difference, 28 minutes versus what, three times as much. What I do with the other video, the other picture, there it is, versus an hour and 17 minutes. Yeah, that's almost 3 times as fast. So definitely way better. So it works for me. Anyway, so that's the talk about the new system. Studio, I think you can see around you what changes have been made. I got an exclusive space to set up my studio, and I've bought some new equipment. I'm using the new Logitech C920 HD cam here. Got a new computer monitor. I've set up some bookshelves, some, you know, eye candy, stuff like that. I had a lighting kit, but I had it in my living room, so I moved my lighting kit in here, and so I'm able to do some things that I wasn't able to do in my studio. We'll talk more when I talk about channel changes, but hopefully you see it. And it definitely makes it easier for me getting videos going so I can come in here and produce a video fairly quickly, which is the goal. Did you get a chance to watch my video? Thank you, Tiger. Appreciate it. Oh, Doug, I'm so jealous. Did you know there's also a 1800X version? I wonder, are you going to be doing any rendering on yours? If so, I'd be curious to see how it goes. Ricardo, yeah, you're right. I should have known better. I've been working on computers for decades, but I kind of like having portability, and that's great that I have the laptop. I can still use it when I go places, but man, having the desktop, way better. So I shot a video on PC Linux OS. It's a non-System D distribution, and it didn't go so well. If you got a chance to watch the video or not, I mean, the bottom line is it would not install on hardware that's slightly older hardware, and I really would expect... Excellent. Doug, sorry. I really would expect, I do expect a Linux distro to be able to install on older hardware that it should be compatible with, and it wasn't able to. I had a crash. The very last thing that it was going to do was install the bootloader, Grub 2, and it crashed. So I tried a variety of different installs with PC Linux OS, and it didn't seem to matter what I did, and I wasn't willing to do a Grub 2 setup manually. I've had to do it before, and it's just positively miserable. You've really got to want to do things like that. I know in Arch Linux you have to do it in other versions of Linux, so yeah, I've done it a couple of times, but it's not very fun. So I was hoping for something quick and easy. So I cruised to DistroWatch, and I did a search here for distributions that are not System D, and I'm looking for, way up at the top here somewhere, I don't even remember where it is, current versions. Now, for some reason in the list here it came up with Linux Mint, because I would have jumped on that right away, but if you go and check out Linux Mint, it actually does use System D. Stacy, I'm not familiar with that Asus laptop. I would wonder how old it is and whether or not it's using a UEFI BIOS. It's not a total showstopper if you're using a UEFI BIOS, but it is much more complicated. There's some settings that you have to change. I do have a video on setting up dual boot with a UEFI BIOS on my Yoga 910, so there will be some similarity. You just have to look in the settings, but it can be quite a booger, I'm going to be honest. This new Dell had a UEFI BIOS, and I actually turned it on to legacy mode, and I was able to boot up to both Windows and Linux with it, and I did not have to do a reinstallation. So my older computer had a legacy BIOS, and I thought, you know, if it works, great. If not, well, I'll just do a reinstall of the operating systems, because I backed everything up, and it worked perfectly. So from what I'm seeing with this laptop, the Core i5-4210U, which I'm familiar with, I had a Core i7 Lenovo Yoga 2 Pro that my son is still using. It had an i7, I think it was same model number, it was like a 4500U, and it would work great with a dual boot if you wanted to do it. I would go for it. Anyway, Linux Mint does use System D, so that one's out. These other ones here, React OS, no way. Of course it doesn't use System D. You guys know what React OS is, right? It's kind of a open source version of Windows that doesn't work at all. I'm beginning to think that there's just no way, unless I want to go with BSD, you know, either free BSD or open BSD. Dev1 is one I was thinking of trying, so I went and checked them out. This is kind of scary. Their Debian release they used was Jessie, and they're only on version 1.0, so this is not something I would consider prime time that I would definitely want to hedge my bets on. You know, I want to be in a position where when I bring my Linux system up, I know it's going to work, and that's one of the reasons I use Fedora. Don't use System D and it might work. And it has Debian 9, yeah. I'm not a big fan of System D. Oh, you've already got Ubuntu Mate 1710? There you go. If it works, I say go for it. I'm not really into the Mate desktop. My main reason is I use KDE because I want to support KDE Plasma. Now, it'll run in any, Kdenlive, the editor. It'll run in any desktop, but it looks best in Plasma. So right now I'm running Plasma, and it just works well for me. So I think I'm going to stick with Fedora for now. So last night, no, actually this morning, I had to upgrade my laptop, my Yoga 910 to Fedora 27. The whole process, including the download, took about 30 minutes. I did a reboot, Fedora 27, and everything was fully operational. The reason I did that is I wanted to test the Kdenlive video render on both my new desktop and the Yoga 910 to see what would happen as far as time goes. So I think I'm going to stick with what works. I'm not opposed then in that case to try some different distros out. Somebody suggested Deepin, so I might check that out. And if I get rid of not systemd and do a search, basically it's going to show me everything, or should. Yeah, it does. Linux Mint number 1. The thing is, I'm going to put some version of Linux on my older AMD computer, the desktop, because I still want to do some Kdenlive comparison, because I'm pretty sure that 6-core processor was doing a decent job. Nowhere's near as good as this Ryzen 1700. So I just like to do comparisons and benchmarking and see what I come up with. I did have a suggestion from somebody to try Manjaro.
I can't find a network connection.
And there's my watch talking to itself again. I love it when it does that. Just talks to itself all the time. Anyway, I've had some people suggest Solus. If I'm pronouncing it right, I thought about trying that one out. Anybody else have any recommendations? Let me know. Elementary's one my son uses. He actually works for the local state government in the IT department, and this is one that he likes a lot. Thought about trying CentOS. I'm going to actually check this out real quick. Depending on which version of CentOS, it might not have systemd. It'd have to be 6.9, so it'd have to be a 6X. And really, I should go with version 7 anyway. I know it'll run on this older computer, so I may try that one. Even though it is on running systemd. I mean, I think I'm kind of stuck with, like it or lump it, a systemd distribution unless I do FreeBSD. OpenSUSE, huh? That's another one that's really popular. Let's go back to distro. I can't believe it's this far down, honestly. OpenSUSE. Oops. SUSE. Gecko Linux is based on it. EasyNAS. Stacy, the other init system, the one that was really popular was System 5, also called SysV. You'll hear people calling it SysV, System 5. I think that it was an easier to understand init system, but as I understand it, it wasn't really scalable, and it was actually causing problems starting up processes and shutting down processes and juggling them in initd, which is a part of System 5. And theoretically anyway, systemd is supposed to do all that better. So it's kind of like it's the bootstrap part of your Linux distribution that gets everything up and running and manages it. I have gotten used to it, so I know the commands and I use them when I need them, which isn't really that often. You know, I've been more on the GUI side lately, so as long as it's stable, maybe I shouldn't worry about it as much, but I was going to try to find a sysv version of a Linux distro that would be stable, but I'm not seeing one. Hey, Linux dude. All right. OpenSUSE, that's one I should consider. I was going to basically divide the 1 terabyte drive up into 3 segments, so I should have enough to try at least 3 distros, and I can blow it away anyway and put whatever I want on it. So, but I mean, I should be able to do 3 distros. So, number 2, not too worried about it. Number 3, not really a Linux topic, but one that you may find interesting. I went through in YouTube Studio and I started analyzing and looking at my videos and which ones were making the most money. I never really bothered to look before. I just created the videos and, you know, whatever happens, happens. My goal, of course, is to get to the point where I'm making a reasonable amount of income, maybe get some, what's the word I'm looking for? Sponsors. Get some sponsors, you know, and expand the channel. So I've really been putting more and more time into it as I've been able to. But YouTube doesn't seem to like Linux videos. So if we take a Linux video and compare it to a Mac or Apple related video, and I know you're probably going to say, well, no duh, but a Linux video with 5,000 views and an Apple or Mac video with 5,000 views, the Linux video I could make anywhere from 0 to maybe $5 a month. A Mac video, same amount of views, I could make anywhere from $5 to $10 a month to more than $100 a month. I mean, looking at the stats, it was staggering. I couldn't believe it. It doesn't, you know, I was going by views before. I was just checking really quick. Okay, views look good for that video. You know, the audience seems to like it. I think I'm going to go with that. So my whole attitude was I'm going to do an every other. So I do a Linux video, and then mainly it's my wife's fault. She got me into Macs and, you know, Apple stuff. So I would do an Apple video and then do a Mac every other video. And then I go look at the stats, and the Mac videos blow all my Linux videos out of the water. My best Linux video, I think, was my top 5 reasons for using Fedora, and it's got good views. Money-wise, though, it doesn't hold a candle to the Mac videos. I mean, yeah, I think so. Probably Microsoft, too. And I do like Windows. So sometimes, like one of the videos I was shooting, I was using this webcam, and I had Windows running here. I had a Mac up in the background, and I was talking about Linux. So it was a Linux-related video. So I use whatever OS works best. And I'm not necessarily saying one is better than the other, but for right now anyway, my interest really isn't in Windows. So the channel kind of has been mostly focused on Linux and Mac. And I was talking with a friend, and he says, well, just make all Mac videos. Ah, Linux dude. Okay. The desktop. Hello from Brazil. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Linux dude. I'm just stunned. Honestly, I am. If the word Mac or Apple doesn't appear, or iPhone in the video, it's like even if it gets excellent views and watch time and all the required statistics to make YouTube happy, I'm not making money. It's like they're not putting advertising on there, even though I get the green dollar sign, meaning it's open for all advertising. I guess it stands to reason. Hola. I do need to make another video, 10 reasons why Windows is better than Mac or Linux. Now, a little off topic here, but some people seem to take those titles wrong. When they looked at the videos, they were thinking that I was saying, you know, Linux is better, period, than Windows or Mac, and that isn't the case. I'm just saying these are 10 things that Linux did better than Mac or Windows. And I made another one saying Mac. 10 reasons why Mac is better than Windows or Linux. So all the operating systems have their place. I mean, they do what they do well, and then there's things they don't do so well. I mean, stands to reason. I don't know what you guys think. Switch to Linux. Take care. Have a good one. Anyway, so there's that problem. And the other thing that is the weirdest thing, all my videos are automatically demonetized. And, well, they're not demonetized. I shouldn't say that. What's happening is I get the yellow dollar sign, the orange yellow dollar sign saying not suitable for all viewers, and I don't get any monetization. So I request, you know, to have it looked at, and then usually, even though it's under 1,000 views and they say they won't even review a video that's under 1,000 views, I don't know if they're reviewing it or not, but 1 to 2 days later it resumes its, you know, normal monetization. So really kind of strange behavior. Not sure what to think about it. Now, since we're talking about number 3, I haven't mentioned this in any of my videos, but you guys are my core anyway. Something really freaky was happening on my channel. So I would log in and I would look at Creator Studio and I would go to Video Manager and I'd see a huge list. Hey, Lance. Huge list of my videos, right? And all of them are monetized. But for some reason, maybe 20% of them, 30%, the monetization would be turned off. I'm like, that's really weird. So I would go through and I'd use a tool in Creator Studio to show me only those videos that had been demonetized and then turn monetization back on. And usually I would notice this because I use Creator Studio on my phone and I would just do a quick check. Next day, maybe 10 of them would become demonetized, like I had turned off monetization. And then if I didn't get to it, 30 more the next day, and then 20 more the next day, to the point where I'd have like over 50% of them not monetized. And I'd have to wait till I got home and got on a computer, and I would go into Creator Studio and I'd search for all videos that are not monetized and turn on monetization, scratch my head and go, what the hell? And the next day, maybe 5 of them would become not monetized, and then more, and then more and more and more. So, knee-jerk reaction. I'm thinking, I'm going to go ahead and change my password. So I changed my password, and it's never happened since. That's really freaked me out. If it was indeed somebody logging into my channel as me, apparently I would think in general they were doing it on a phone, because in Creator Studio they could have selected all my videos and say not monetized and zapped them in one fell swoop, unless they didn't want me to realize what was happening. So yeah, I was really freaked. I have not had one video go to not monetized since I've changed my password. So that was very concerning for me, and I've been monitoring it very closely, and because of that, I went ahead and started changing all my passwords for all of my accounts for any reason, just to be smart, and I did the funniest thing. I actually went and used a Linux command. So if you do a search on Google, Linux commands for random passwords, oh my God, the random passwords it generated for me, my head hurt. So I'm one of those old school guys. I want to remember the passwords, so I type them over and over and over until I actually learn the password. So if I want to go to my bank account, I know which password in my head. And I kind of turn it into some kind of sentence that will cue me into what password it is. I know there's a lot of tools out there you can use and some services, that will congregate your passwords for you, and then you use one password to unlock it, like LastPass. But there have been problems with those tools. So anyway, I'm getting way off base here on number 3, but how you doing, Funky Live? It was odd. I'm not going to lie. And again, I have not seen the problem since. So long and short of it, YouTube doesn't want Linux videos apparently because they don't pay. Most of my videos are demonetized because they say it's not suitable for all audiences, and it gets fixed after a while. And I guess that's what I've just got to expect with YouTube. I guess it's the way it is. So no problems with that non-monetized videos anymore. So some recent channel changes. You saw the studio. We talked about the new system. I'm losing my voice already. The new system's working well. One of the other changes I made... All right, I need some water. Okay, wait. I never get political on my channel, but who does this remind you of? Any guesses? I know one of you have to know. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, other things. So when I was uploading videos, if I had a video that was around 2 gigabytes, I would upload it, and my Comcast service here, my upstream was a paltry 5 megabits, and my downstream was 25 megabits. So yeah, I do need more blonde hair. Anyway, so when I uploaded my videos, 2 things would happen. Number 1, it would take hours. And number 2, anybody doing anything else on our network, whether it was watching a YouTube video on Netflix or my son gaming, every single time he would come in my room and say, are you doing something? Because I got kicked off my games. And I'd say, well, yeah, I'm uploading a video. It would trash my network. You couldn't do a thing. Nothing. The upstream was so clogged. Most services that you use have return packets, right? Just kind of checking in, making sure, did you get that packet? Yes, I did. So you send, another one up saying, yes, I received it. Well, my upstream was completely loaded. So you would get packets coming down saying, did you get the packet? And nobody could respond. No system could respond. So I thought, okay, this is crazy. I got to do something about this. Either I've got to schedule uploading of videos for the middle of the night when everybody's sleeping, or do something. So I got on to chat with Comcast at 2 in the morning a couple nights ago. And I'm talking with them, and right now I'm getting 25 megabits for $29.99 a month, $30 a month. And I said, I need a better upstream. Yeah, it's terrible. Let's be honest. Linux dude is right. So I was chatting, and I always do the same thing. I'm like, well, I would like a faster upstream. I'm not so concerned about downstream. I don't want to spend more than $50 a month. So the nice lady that I was chatting with, very knowledgeable. Every time I've been on chat with Comcast, I'm surprised at how knowledgeable they are. Comes back and says, I can get you 75 megabits down, 10 megabits up for an additional $15 a month. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. I was also at the same time looking at AT&T prices, and for whatever reason, they don't have UVerse fiber in my area, so I was going to have to pay an arm and a leg for a paltry, I think it was 50 megabits down, something like 3 megabits up. And I was also looking at the actual Comcast prices according to what they would quote me if I just clicked a button and said buy now without actually talking to somebody. That one was $79.99 a month, and I'm like, eee. And so I could get it for 45. Was it for? Yeah, 45 bucks a month. And I said, what else you got? She said, well, I can give you 150 megabits downstream, 20 megabits upstream for, what'd she say? $20 more a month, I believe it was. No, 25. So a total of 55. And I'm like, really? I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to try it. Why not, right? What's the worst that could happen? The cool thing is, because it's an add-on to my $29.99 a month, I can turn it off whenever I want. So I got 2 years locked in, $55 a month, 150 downstream, 20 megabits upstream. I wish it could honestly be faster on the upstream. And did a little testing, and now I can upload a video that is 2 gigabytes in about 15 minutes versus an hour and a half, and other people can still use my network. So still talking about number 4 here, recent channel changes. The idea is I can come in here and produce videos faster because I have a newer system, and the technology, I'm constantly infusing new technology into what I'm doing, new cameras, new computers, and now I've got this faster internet connection, so I can zap these videos up much, much quicker. And I can do, as an example, the live stream I'm doing, and it'll actually work. And it just makes things go much faster, which leads me to, not sure what you're laughing at, Lance, but I like it when you're laughing. Yeah, the FCC decision. Linux dude, I gotta agree with you. I'm going to explain why I haven't done that in just a minute. I used to do that when I started out. Linux dude here says, what you should do is prepare some videos ahead of time, then release one a week or so. I used to have, no lie, when I first started the channel, 12 videos in the queue. So, and they were all set to publish on certain dates. Couple of things made me decide not to do that. One was the content would become stale quickly. I was surprised at how fast. So a video would come out 12 days later, and I was literally chomping at the bit, you know, because I'd produced 8 more videos after that. And I'm like, I really want that video that's coming out in 3 weeks to be out now. I want you guys to see it now, not later. So I reeled back a little bit to like queuing up 3 a week, and that worked well. The reason I'm not doing it right now is because I've been producing a video every day. And now I'm kind of getting into future expectations. The production system I have now definitely allows me to go much faster. Upload speeds, editing, performance, all that stuff. I'm just rolling in constant improvements. Can I realistically keep up a video every day? For right now, yes. I guess it remains to be seen. The core thing that I'm trying to do is always strive to increase quality. I'm not concerned about fancy graphics or fly-ins or anything like that, but just the basics. Case in point, I released a video a couple days ago, and I don't even remember which one it is at this point, but I uploaded the video, you know, checked everything, was so proud of it. FastGadgets, you're right. And went to bed. It was like 2 in the morning. I'm like, nice job. Got that video done, even though you were tired, blah, blah, blah. come home the following day, turn on YouTube, and, you know, I like to watch other YouTubers, see what they're up to, and I get ideas from them, so it's nice. And this video was mine. It was recommended to me, so I'm like, well, I should check it. Isn't that obscene? I'm checking the videos the day after I uploaded it. Anyway, normally I don't do that. I was sure this video was fine. I was happy with it. I pressed play and I'm like, where's my intro? And then I'm like, wait a minute. Is this the uncut video? Here's the thing. The uncut video, I gave the same name as the final edited video, and they were both MKV files. One was in the raw folder, the other was in the edited folder. Helpful Linux, right? It always opens up in the folder you were in, so I uploaded the uncut video. I was really happy I wasn't swearing in that video. One of my favorite things to do, you know, when something's not going right, I'll start cursing and swearing, you know, and I hate it when my screen goes dark. There we go. Cursing and swearing, and I'll just say to myself, I'll cut that out later. So typically what I'll do while I'm going through the video is I'll just say cut, and then I'll say action, you know, to pick it up again. So chop this crap out. And then a torrent of swearing or whatever, you know, because something isn't going right. Grumbling, the dog comes in, barking, you know. And thankfully that didn't happen. But basically, you know, quality control is what I'm looking at. I want to, you know, check the videos, make sure everything's working. I've been experimenting more with 4K shooting. So whenever I do a review of a piece of hardware, I'm trying to use 4K. And looking forward, I think it would probably be reasonable to output a video every other day. I'm not teaching as much, so it's easier for me to do. I don't think I'll be able to keep up every day. Checking your comments here. Yeah, Stacy, that's pretty much what I did. I was really mad. I was furious. It's kind of like, you know, when I'm teaching, if I'm 1 minute late, I am hideously angry at myself. I don't care if the students walk in an hour late. I'm the teacher. It's my job to be there on time or earlier. And really, as an instructor, on time means 30 minutes before class starts to get all your equipment set up, to get your book out, to get your lecture material ready and be ready to go. So when I screw up and I uploaded the wrong video just because I was too tired, I just wanted to kick myself. I'm like, are you serious? How could I do that? But anyway, I decided to laugh at it. I mean, that's the way it is. I've got a process down, which is solidifying. I just have to be careful. Probably should go ahead and put, you know, like raw in my video name. Maybe it would help so I don't run into that problem again. Quite a bit. Yeah. I literally, when I was doing the PC Linux OS, I'm like, what's going on, you know? And I walked out and I went and had dinner because I was waiting for it to boot up, and came back swearing and cursing. I'm like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? The thing about those types of videos are, you know, you've got to drag a whole bunch of hardware out, connect cables, you know, get under your desk and download stuff and transfer it to a USB. And in the process of shooting that video was an agonizing 8 to 10 hours for, I forget what it was, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, nice job, Mark. You shot a video about PC Linux OS. It took 8 hours to do, and you're probably going to make 3 cents on it, you know, just kind of laughing. But I don't want you to think I'm not going to do Linux videos, because I really like Linux, and I have an audience there that likes it, and I'm not just going to give up on that stuff. So don't be concerned about that. I'm telling you, Stacy, I'm telling you. It was me, you know, like I say, I would start trying to do the install again, and then it, something wouldn't go right or whatever, so I'd have to reboot and start over again. And I'm like, I'm going to go do laundry. This is crazy. I'm going to go make dinner or something, and then I would come back and something would go wrong again, and I'd be like, oh, man. I want a distro like Fedora. I want to try some other ones out. If I don't limit to non-systemd, it won't be a problem. I can find one, but I upgraded this laptop to Fedora, and it literally was done. I started the upgrade. I came in, and it was sitting there at login, and I logged in, and I'm on Fedora 27. Done. That's the kind of distribution I think we all need and deserve, is one that will work every time. Yeah, it was a pain. Funky Live, I like your advice. You have a very good point. Very good point. Okay, so future expectations. I really want to continue improving the quality of the product. So I've been very careful in the editing and what's in the video. I've gotten some compliments and also negative feedback on how I do videos. So as an example, the PC Linux OS video. If I looked at another YouTuber, they would have done a 9-minute video on that, with beautiful lighting and, a spoken, scripted, here's what happened and blah, 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 and we did this, and then in the end, this is what happened, and have a nice night kind of thing. And mine are more, I just let it run. I did cut a chunk, quite a chunk. I cut... With all the raw video I had, I probably had an hour and a half of raw video. I cut out, a significant portion. But I like to, let you be a part of, I hate to say it, but some of the misery, because information technology, it's kind of a loving it and hate it kind of thing, It's working, and then sometimes it's not. And that's just the way it is. I think that, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but many of my younger audience, and I get these comments, number one, dude, you're an idiot. I love that one. I always crack up when I see that one. Or, why do you talk so much? Or, your videos are way too long. I watched the last 2 minutes, got everything I needed. And so when I see those three types of comments, I just laugh, because I still like making the videos that give you all the details, all the gory stuff. It depends what it is. If I'm showcasing some piece of hardware, of course, I'm going to, cut it up and edit it nicely down. But when I'm working in Linux and it's something I can't figure out, I'm not going to just cut it all out and then go to the end, like I know everything, because I don't. Yeah. Funky Live, I'm curious about DaVinci Resolve, and I think I'm going to have a look at it and see what kind of renders it gives to me. Stacy, you do. I have no idea at this point how old you were, but you always have really good comments on my videos, and I was like, I don't know how old she is, She could be 20, she could be 50. You seem really knowledgeable, so just my opinion. So yeah, whenever I have the longer videos, I don't see thumbs down per se, but I get the funny comments. Now, I do filter for swear words. Most of you already know that. So if you curse, it's automatically filtered out. I do go and look at all the comments that are filtered out, because I want to know. I mean, even if somebody says, the S word, if I say it now, I know YouTube's not going to monetize my video. You know what I'm talking about. If somebody says that in one of the comments, if in context it makes sense to me, I just go ahead and let it go through. But initially anyway, they're held back for review if there's some cursing in it. I'm trying to keep it relatively PG. I know I've got a younger segment that watches the video, so I try not to make it too adult. Let me put it to you that way. Stacy, you're a guy? Apologies. Funky, I lost you. What's a build? Oh, DaVinci Resolve Editor. Okay, no kidding. I did not know that. All right, I got to check that out. I'm pretty geeked about that. So I wanted to take an informal poll, and I'm going to see, I've noticed some YouTubers are actually doing polls in their feed. I'm going to try and do one, but given the choice, Linux, Mac, Windows, what do you like? If, you know, I looked at the three, Mac makes the most money, Linux the least, but I would say I get more out of, you know, enjoyment-wise out of doing Linux, but I love Macs too, so I'll keep doing those. But what is it you like? All this time, Stacy, I thought you were a girl. My mistake. All these names, my friend and I were talking about it. They can be female or male. I mean, that's the facts, right? I probably use Linux 80 to 90% of the time and Mac 15% of the time, and then Windows as needed 5% of the time. So this rig I have can do gaming, so you know, I want to experiment with gaming. I did something interesting. I did a test capture with OBS while gaming, and I was rendering. It worked great. I could not believe it. I was playing in Linux Left 4 Dead 2, rendering a video and using OBS to capture, and there wasn't a single hiccup. So in the future, I'll do some basic gaming. I'm not really good at it, but you know, there are some games I do like playing. Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Funky Live. I'm kind of the same way. If I couldn't have Linux, it would probably be a Mac, because its underpinnings is BSD, even though, wow, they've really done some pretty incredible changes. So I really don't know that I would have to learn a lot, basically, but all the generic commands that I use in Linux are still there, so there's a lot that I could do. Tiger, I got to agree with you on the expense for Macs. That's why part of me was thinking of selling my MacBook Pro 2017. One of the things was the keyboard issue. The other thing was, and this was even before I bought this PC, once I got the studio set up, I was not using that MacBook that much. It's a pleasure to use, but I just don't use it that much. When I teach, I need Windows, and I didn't want to put Windows on such a small SSD. My MacBook Pro is just a 256. My Yoga 910 has a 512 gigabyte, so I dual boot both Windows and Linux, and that's the one I need to take to work most of the time. Now, I do have a MacBook 12-inch that has a 512 gigabyte SSD, so I could put Windows on that. I have to run Access, so Microsoft Access, because I'm basically teaching that in one of my classes, and I need to test databases that students send me. So I could put Windows on that MacBook, and I've thought about selling the MacBook Pro. The downside is it gets a lot of views, so I don't know what to do. I mean, I could get the thing to pay for itself, basically. Funky Live, I agree 100%. I don't know why. I guess I do know why now that I say that. The one thing about BSD is it doesn't really do all that well with a variety of hardware. So if Apple were to release macOS for any PC, they would have quite a lot of work to do with drivers and setup for multiple hardware platforms, and I don't think they're willing to do that. But if they just spun a disk and said, here, have fun, I would go for it. I mean, if you could get BSD drivers and download them freely, I don't see why it would be an issue. I would be willing to try it. Yeah, they would. I think they would earn a lot more. And Microsoft's figured out that one way to make money is with user data, learning through Windows 10 how people do what they do, what they're viewing, where they go, what their behavior is, kind of like Facebook. And so giving away the OS up until now has been what they've been doing because they really find that they can resell this information. Would Apple be willing to do that? I'm honestly not sure. I know they already do it to some extent, especially on the iPhone, but I'm sure they do it in Mac OS. That kind of model is different to make money initially, so it might take a long time for them to get a user base big enough to where they were generating enough income to justify making Mac OS for PCs. But if they told me right now they're going to spin out a disk that doesn't have the security features in to keep you from installing it on a PC, and it was $50, I'd do it. I actually went to a site, I can't remember, this was a while back, and had them create a spin for me for my old Yoga 2. It actually did work, but the Wi-Fi wasn't working, and it didn't want to put the Yoga 2's video into the high DPI mode. So there were some, shortcomings, and I'm like, this is a lot of work. Why am I doing this when I can just use Linux? I don't know. So I went back to Linux. Yeah, I think so too. There are already BSD drivers, tons of them, for PCs and laptops. So, I mean, if Apple were to say no guarantees, do what you want, here is our operating system, it's $50, or, if it was Apple, it's $499, so it'd be $500. But I wouldn't pay $500, but I would pay $50. I know I would. And I would pay per license. If they wanted, $50 per license, yes, I would do it. I think it could become the dominant operating system, and I don't know why they don't think about trying it. All right, that is all I have for you today. This is probably the longest live stream I've done, and it's been fun. I hope you've had a good time. If you get a chance, drop a comment on the video after I close it out and it shows up in my video feed, Linux, Mac, Windows, or your preference. Is the every other good enough? Linux and then Mac, kind of back and forth. It really is what my audience wants. If they want more Linux, I'm going to do more Linux even if I'm not making big bucks on it. I can do enough Mac, Apple related stuff to bring an income in, so that's a non-issue really for me. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your being here. I hope you have a good week and weekend coming up, and Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, depending on which one you prefer. I'm sure we're going to see each other again soon enough because I'll be having some more videos coming out. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Yep, take care, Funky Live. Try not to laugh too hard when you watch it.